All right, I'm Sophia Gardner. I'm a daily Collegian reporter covering the SGA, and I'm here with Barkha Bhandari, who is running for Student Trustee in the upcoming SGA election. And I will be asking Barkha 3 questions for her candidate profile today. So your first question is going to be, what are your policy initiatives? And that time is going to start right now.
Okay, thank you so much for having me here. I'm Barkha Bhandari. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an international student. I'm a junior and I study economics and creative writing. Just wanted to give you a little background about myself. I'm here and I'm running for this position because I think that there is very special potential in the position of the student trustee that I want to push to basically create a racially, economically, and environmentally just campus, amongst other things. You asked me about my policy points and my platform points. It includes advocating for an affordable higher education, prioritizing pro worker politics, challenging unequal hierarchies of power within the UMass system, advocating for campus wide issues, specifically looking at funding allocations, and finally, democratizing the decision making process at UMass. So I just threw a lot of words at you. What some of this means is that the Board of Trustees is basically the supreme governing authority over the UMass system. They have a lot of power, but I want to use this position to work with students and mobilize students in understanding that we have the power to talk about the issues that matter to us and then utilize the power that the Board of Trustees has to help us with the issues that we're advocating for. Because I think previously this position has been very much like the trustee kind of just talking to the board about, the stuff that they're doing and the board telling us what they're doing. But I think we need to recognize that the board works for us. So the policies that we're putting forward need to be heard by them. And that's really important. So yeah, affordable higher education, making sure that we are mitigating the debt crisis, prioritizing pro-worker politics. The COVID-19 pandemic has really just wreaked havoc for a lot of student workers. So making sure that they have support, advocating for campus-wide issues. Where is our money going? Is it funding UMPD or is it funding the cultural centers? Thinking about these things and talking to the board about that. And finally, democratizing the decision-making process, and I'll wrap up here, is essentially saying that students and workers need to be more active in the decision-making processes of the things that affect us, because the board doesn't always have our best interests at mind. And I want to use my position to make sure that students can work with the board and with myself to make sure that we are getting what we need to make this campus community supportive and welcoming to everyone.
Okay, amazing. And then your second question is going to be, why should people vote for you and what specifically do you bring to the table? And that time is going to start right now.
Yeah, thank you. That's an excellent question, and people should be asking this question before voting for me. Like I mentioned, I'm an international student. I've spent a majority of my life in India, growing up there. And when I was 18, I moved here for college. So I do think that this bicultural identity of mine lends itself to an understanding of some of the issues that we as a campus community want to deal with from like a more holistic lens. I understand that racism is systemic. I understand that the debt crisis has intersections with racism. I understand that if we want to democratize a decision-making process, we need to center those who are most marginalized and most affected. And I believe that this understanding comes from viewing systems of oppression and viewing struggles for liberation in different parts of the world. So I do think that that's important to share about my journey. But then more specifically about the work I've done on campus, I've been a senator since my freshman year. I've worked on issues of affordable higher education, which is in my platform. I've worked on food justice issues, so setting up a food pantry on campus, making sure that people are food secure, talking to the administration about that. I've been working with the Racial Justice Coalition for a while. I'm very passionate about advocating for the intersections between all these issues because they don't exist in silos. I have had a job at the Center for Education Policy and Advocacy, CEPA. It's a student agency, and we want to support students in advocating for the issues that they're passionate about and the issues that affect them. And all of these things I've pretty much been doing ever since I've come to college. And I think that my major is economics. So for the position of trustee specifically, when it comes to funding allocations, when it comes to like whether our tuition is being raised or not, or advocating for more public funding from the state, I'm studying this both inside the classroom and outside of the classroom as well. So I think these are some of the reasons that I am fit for this position, and I would really like to work collaboratively with the student body to make sure that we are getting what we need.
Amazing. And then I have one more question for you, and that is going to be, how do you plan to support the entire student body, including students from different backgrounds and who are in different time zones right now, students in a variety of living situations with different varying access to the internet, disabilities, or other challenges that are making them particularly vulnerable, given the pandemic? And how do you plan to represent and support the student body, given how extensive it is?
Yeah, absolutely. We're living in some really unprecedented times. I'm sure this is a phrase multiple people have used before, but we are. And like I mentioned before, just in theory, I fully believe my social justice theory stems from the belief that those people that are the most marginalized have to be centered. So if we're having conversations about racial justice, then I will do my best to reach out to people who have experienced racism first so that their experiences can be taken into account. But also, I think it goes beyond that as well. I think that for the administration and for the Board of Trustees to truly understand what students are going through, I also want to push them to make sure that they're meeting the shared governance and consultation standards that they're supposed to in making sure that students are a part of the conversation and looped into this, even though we're living through dramatic times. Like I was in India for the past 9 months. I just came back here. It's very difficult to communicate with the administration because of the time difference, because of the virtual means. But I think that if the administration put a little bit more of an effort into that, and I don't think they're doing a bad job of it, but like pushing that further, that would be really good. And I personally also want to work with student groups that are experts in the issues that they're talking about. There are groups that have been doing work on the issues that I'm talking about for a really long time. I am under no illusion that I'm, doing this for the first time. These are all important platform points that people have been talking about. And the only way we're going to win some of the things we want to is if we all collaborate on it in like a coalition type of format. So working with Students Group, working with SEPA, working with the Racial Justice Coalition, MassPerg, the cultural centers, BSU, there's so many groups that would be absolutely incredible to work with. And I'll do my best to reach out to them as much as I can, both virtually and then as things hopefully open up on campus like that as well, because my term is going to be next year if I win. So if that answers your question.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And thank you for being here today. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Of course, of course.